So the next stage is partially cleaning and partially fixing up the wax, ready for it to be used in other ways. So first things first, get all my tools out of it and try and preserve as much wax as possible. So in the pot there is water. So what we do is put the molten wax, put the solid wax and rendering and dead bees and chips of wood and whatever else has ended up in the hive by accident, and honey, especially the honey residue. Throw it all into the water and the wax will float. The honey will dissolve into the water and that separates the two. The dead bees and bits and pieces will usually sink. So your end result is wax on top, water underneath, residue and rubbish on the bottom. Then we let it cool, so the wax will, once the water boils, so wax has a very similar melting point to the boiling point of water, so the wax will be a molten layer on the top. That separates it out. We then let it cool. Once it's cooled, it forms effectively a disc or a plate of wax on top as it reverts back to being a solid. I can then remove that and use that wax for other things. Mostly I have to run it through another filter again because there's always stuff stuck in amongst the wax. Little bits and pieces of chips of stuff that float and they will get mixed in, so I have to filter it again. I run it through a funnel with a pantyhose on it and that will take out the last of the residue, and then that wax is good to go for candles, beauty products, polish, or just sit around the house and smell like wax. So the end result, I'll wash my hands looks like that. It's a cake layer, so I've shattered this layer. Then I put it in the pot, put it in a separate pot, melt it down, run it through the pantyhose filter, and it is all good to go. It's usable wax. Unfortunately, I now need to sit here and supervise this because the other thing wax can do is actually burst into flames. So that's bad, which means I need to sit here and observe this until it boils up, melts down, and then I'll leave it to cool overnight. Alrighty, overnight, we've cooled, and we have the disc of wax with all of the leftover scum and horribleness on the bottom, which I will now scrub out. It's still got some horribleness inside it, which I'll have to filter out later, but it's almost ready to go. Alrighty, we've cleaned out some of the worst of it, and now it's just a matter of setting it on fire appropriately. Now we just melt down the wax, run it through a fine filter, and it's good to go. And that's it. We've completed the extraction of honey, extraction of wax. Everything that came out of the hive either goes back into the hive or gets used for something useful. Beekeeping, so efficient. Alright, final stage, filtering. That's the wax out of, hard to calculate, probably took about 10 frames, but then I used a bunch of the molten wax to recoat a bunch of plastic foundations to make them more tasty for bees, because they are more likely to build their cells on wax than they are on plastic, so you coat the plastic in wax and they don't know the difference. And the rest I've chucked in here. There's still some residue and bits and pieces in there. So if this is going to be competition level honey, then I'll filter it again and probably filter it again, and combine it with previous ones. And you can see that's a nice big solid block of honey, but still has residue in the bottom, so still needs to be remelted and filtered again, unlike the smaller blocks which have pretty much been filtered out. And that's it. That'll cool, harden, ready for use.